Comedy, the most subjective of any genre in film. What I despise might be comedic gold for another. With this in mind, when do you introduce your kids to some of your favorite comedies? Will the jokes still be relevant? Should a kid understand all the jokes in a movie before they watch? Or can some go over their heads? Can a fat guy really squeeze into a little coat? The Chris Farley classic, Tommy Boy, one of my favorite comedies of all time. I drop dialogue from this movie into conversations at least once a week. I watched Chris Farley on Saturday Night Live, but this movie made him an icon. Just about everyone who grew up in the 90s has seen and can quote this film. The question is, does it hold up for a new generation? Does Farley's comedy translate, or do some of the jokes fall flat for kids today? I decided to let my 11-year-old watch Tommy Boy. Common Sense Media has an age rating for Tommy Boy of 16+, because the character masturbates and drugs are used without any consequence. I'll put a link to the rest of their review in the description below. To each their own, but 16 is ultra conservative for this movie. Yes, David Spade's character gets caught masturbating, but nothing is shown. At all. The girl who is skinny dipping in the pool isn't shown. At all. Yes, marijuana use is shown at the beginning of the movie, but that's it. And it's not explicit. I would also argue if you want to have a serious conversation about drug use, then I would point to how slow Tommy Callahan is in the movie and use it as a deterrent for drug use. I'll admit, I led a fairly sheltered life up until the time I went to college. I had no idea what a bong even was or what it looked like. Watching the movie in high school, I didn't even realize what they were smoking in the first part of the movie. Richard makes a joke about Tommy's brain being filled with bong resin, which I never caught or noticed when I was younger. My son, who hasn't been exposed to any drug use, wouldn't understand the first part of the movie either. He also probably didn't understand the joke at the hotel. If he did understand either situation, then they would be good conversation starters, instead of just pretending these things don't exist. If these jokes do go over a kid's head, there is still plenty to love in Tommy Boy. Farley was brilliant at physical comedy. Watching the movie again, it was impressive to realize how much he used his body to get a laugh. There are countless examples of him using his body in this way throughout the movie. One in particular is when he's getting hosed off after going cow tipping and is running in place. It's silly, and I'm not sure why I think it's funny, but just his action causes the laughter. The way he shrugs or turns his head all have comedic timing in this film. He was a very special talent. The plot of the movie is easy to understand. Tommy's dad dies and he has to go out on the road to sell parts to make sure his factory doesn't close. Having the new stepmom and brother actually be con artists adds a layer of complexity, but not much. My 11-year-old didn't have any trouble understanding what was happening during the story. The movie is a simple buddy road trip film with an okay plot. The movie has just enough of a grounded story to make it not go off the rails. They weren't trying to make Citizen Kane with this, but what the movie did was let Chris Farley shine. My 11-year-old liked Tommy Boy, and I'm glad I let him watch. He says he likes Happy Gilmore more than this. I'll take Tommy Boy, but I'm glad he enjoyed them both. He laughed the hardest at the scene where Tommy reenacts a car accident with the models in the office. I had forgotten just how funny that scene is and how perfectly Farley plays it. I laughed the most when Tommy uses a payphone in the airport. I stopped the movie and asked my son if he knew what those were. He said, "A phone." I said, "What kind?" And he said, "A corded one?" I said, "It's a payphone." His response, "You had to pay for those?" Me and my wife cracked up. It made me feel old, but at least he knows what they are now. So, other than the minimal drug use, the masturbation scene, and a few other lewd jokes, there really isn't much to prevent me from letting my kids watch this movie. An appropriate age range for my kids would be 10 to 13 years old. I do think some of the jokes will go over their head, but they can come back and watch when they are older and get more enjoyment out of the film. My oldest seems to like comedies, so I might have to stick with these and then branch off into other genres to ramp up his passion for movies. When was the first time you saw Tommy Boy? If you have kids, when would you let them watch? Comment and let me know. Give this video a like if you did in fact like it. Share if you think it's worth sharing. Subscribe to my channel if you think I say interesting things. Click the links at the end to hear me babble on some more. Thanks for watching, and